Hello and welcome everyone. My name is Kirsten.vonelverfeldt and I'm part of the climate action team at HeiGIT. Today, we'll give you a quick but hopefully meaningful look at what CAN offers and how you can use it. We have built this with many of you, stakeholders, practitioners and researchers, and I dare to say that this makes the Climate Action Navigator truly exceptional. But just before we start, I'd like to express a heartfelt thank you to a couple of institutions and people. First of all, I would love to thank the Klaus Tschira Stiftung, the Klaus Tschira Foundation, for the generous financial support of our project. This enables us to co-create our climate action indicators together with you as our partners. The foundation promotes natural sciences, mathematics, and computer science with a focus on research, education, and science communication. So check it out to see whether you want to apply for funding too. Secondly, a heartfelt thank you goes to HeiGIT for offering us the working condition and the shared spirit to do what we are doing. The Climate Action Navigator is a team effort in the best sense of the word. Furthermore, I do want to thank not only the current team, but also our former team members. Here, I'd like to stress the work and contribution of Maciek Adamiak, who is one of the masterminds behind the whole dashboard architecture. If you need excellent AI expertise or want to get a geoinformation project like ours started, he's the one to get in touch with. Last but not least, a tremendous thank you goes out to our partners, as listed below, who worked with us on our current indications. Without you, nothing of this would have been possible. It's not only a great learning experience to co-create climate action indicators with you, it's also super nice. So thank you for this experience. I don't think there will be questions already at this stage of the webinar, but in any case, please either use the link in the chat or get there via the QR code on the next slide. Here you can pose any questions that might arise, but you can also upvote the ones you'd most like answered. Over the next hour, you will get an overview of CAN's core tools, see it in action in the breakout sessions, and have a chance to ask your questions and share your feedback. But to start with, I'd like to tell you why we built the Climate Action Navigator. As all of us know firsthand, we are facing huge pressure to act on climate. But often, the data to support meaningful local decisions is either inaccessible, too technical, or missing entirely. And as all of us know as well, we need to democratize access to data so that we can empower people to act. That's where CAN comes in. The Climate Action Navigator is designed to make data and information accessible. Currently, it provides practical, map-based insights on active mobility and emissions from residential heating, as well as from land use, using open and, as far as possible, freely available data. And we plan to add more. But most importantly, CAN is not a product we want to sell. It's a platform built with and for practitioners like you. So what exactly does CAN offer? CAN includes several assessment tools that help analyze climate-relevant data, climate-relevant indicators at a local and or regional level. HeiWalk and HeiBike assess infrastructure for active mobility, so for walking and cycling. Two other tools estimate carbon emissions from residential heating, as well as land use and land cover change, using a variety of open data sources like OpenStreetMap and Sentinel-2 data. However, for me personally, the best part is that CAN is co-created. Why do I stress this point so much? I'll give you a rather personal answer. I have literally spent all of my adult work life doing science. One of my research focus was to understand why does the relationship between society and environment appear to be in a constant crisis? Until 2 years or so ago, I would have said, hey, we do know enough to act. And I just couldn't understand why people didn't seem to want to act. And this despite all the evidence and knowledge we have. But it was during the co-creation process that I finally got some understanding of a totally different dimension of what causes inaction. Yes, we do know a lot, and we do have a lot of data, but science is not always presenting this in a way that is A, easily accessible, and B, usable and useful to act upon. For example, there are quite a few walkability indices out there, but only some of them are actionable. And yes, also the Climate Action Navigator is not the solution to it all. And yes, there's so much we can or should do better, and so much more data we can or should offer. But CAN gives you and us a starting point grounded in evidence, and it is transparent, freely accessible, and actionable. And this is so mainly because it's co-created. So now it's time to dive a little deeper. And the best way to do that is by exploring CAN in action. We have set up 5 breakout rooms, and each is focused on a different tool or topic area. And the breakout rooms are named accordingly. Welcome back, everybody. I hope that the breakout sessions gave you a better sense of how CAN works in practice and what it could offer for your specific work. And now we want to have a quick overview, a quick summary of what you talked about. HeiGIT, we will start with HeiGIT. Danielle, can you just briefly tell us the main takeaways from your session?
Sure. So we mostly gave an overview of what the HeiGIT assessment tool looks like and how you can use it in the Climate Action Navigator. We have several indicators which are all based on OpenStreetMap data currently. We talked about who would use it and why HeiGIT is a useful indicator, and also about the sort of future direction and goals of HeiGIT to add some new features which are currently already available in HeiWalk. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Thank you. Then HeiWalk would be next. Emily?
Yes. We had a tour again through really different indicators. Conversation was sadly a bit sparse, but there was one interesting point, like putting more focus on like the history and like observing like changes as they happen for like walkability infrastructure, and also a few points about interesting indicators that would be like shade and sidewalk quality more specifically. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Emily. Sebastian, heating emissions.
We had an interesting discussion. We looked at the tool, the type of data that it uses, and how it works, how we can estimate heating emissions at 100-meter resolution. And we discussed also what resolution is enough and for what. So what are some of the potential applications of this data? For example, for monitoring urban emissions in real time, or to motivate local climate action. But we also discussed how the finer you go, the uncertainty increases, and it's very important to properly communicate that uncertainty.
Yeah, uncertainty is always a big discussion point in our team. That's yeah, great. Thank you. Fine. On the land use and then cover change emissions.
So I think for me, one of the main takeaways is that we need to improve the way we show the results and communicate the results. I think the tool in its current state might be a bit confusing still. Otherwise, in terms of temporal resolution, I think a more fine-grained temporal resolution and at the same time a longer observation period, so being able to look back in time longer would probably be helpful. Also, improving the accuracy of the classification, expanding the tool to other countries like Austria. These are some of the points that were mentioned, and so there is definitely there are definitely ways to move forward.
Yeah, sounds partly rather challenging as well, but this is great. Thank you, Pat. ideas lab. So this will be something completely new, maybe, Maria?
Yeah, well, we had a range of very different topics that we touched, so it's hard to summarize. Questions ranging from how do we go, make our tools usable outside of Europe, how do we go about future scenarios, can we look at something like gray, energy gray emissions, how do we ensure quality and look at uncertainties, and how do we ensure what do we do about the action that we so boldly claim with our navigator?
Yeah, cool. Yeah, actually, this is amazing, and yeah, as I said, some of the things, of course, we discussed as well, but I have the impression there are some new points that you raised, which is very helpful for us. So we'll compile all of your input and keep you posted if you want to, at least, and how we take it forward. So yeah, we will work with it for sure, and thank you very much for the feedback already. Okay, so as you might remember, we have in the chat the link to the Slido. I will start now with the top voted question, and I think you should, yeah, you should see them as well, and there's some movement. So the top voted question is, how can we as contributors get involved early and help? Yeah, so best by contacting me, or on the last slide you will see a QR code and also the email of our team in order to get in touch, and we can then discuss whether you want to partner up. Partnering up with us means there are no costs involved, aside of time costs, because we would have workshops together and try to improve the indicators or also design new indicators. Yeah, I mean, of course, we do have some constraints as well in terms of men and women power, but yes, that will be the way forward. So best get in touch via email, or also, of course, you can phone me or whatever, and yeah, I would be happy to talk with you. Okay, I hope this answered your question. The next one is, biking is often more attractive on paths going through parks or green spaces. I totally agree. Does your tool account for this? Not yet, but it will. In walkability, we already have greenness, or naturalness, so an indicator for blue and green infrastructure, so for water bodies and also vegetation, giving you a sense of how natural or how green the path is. And we will soon include this for bikeability as well. So we know how to do it and we will do it, but it's not yet there. But yeah, I totally agree, and it's important, and it's also a very important information for cities, also regarding EU law, because cities have to act on their natural space or on their greenery by law now. Okay, as far as I understood, you use OSM data. How often is the navigator synchronized? My community would be interested in a now data set and to see update data, to see update date. So we are using awesome data, so it's updated regularly every 2 weeks. Huh? Oh, okay, Emily, you want to say something about that?
Yeah. Like I was about to get the same explanation because I thought it might be a bit, but yes, we are basically using our SAM data. We're using it via the Awesome API, which has a database that is, I think, updated every 2 weeks, as you just said. So there is some time lag between like actual changes in OSM, but Awesome is also evolving. Awesome has a bunch of like tools to assess like contributions and changes and change sets in OSM data.
Okay, thank you. Then there is a question regarding heating emissions. I think this goes to you, Sebastian. Are there plans to extend the availability beyond Germany in the future?
Yes, definitely. That is the plan. Very often for these type of estimates, you need local data about building properties, energy sources, for example. So sometimes it's tricky. We need to first look for the data sources available for a particular region to produce the best estimates possible. But we are always trying to keep our methodology simple enough so that it can be transferred to other regions. So if someone is interested in developing such a tool for a specific place, please let us know and we will be happy to work together.
Yes, thank you. New question for HeiGIT. How safe is it to bike on the road? So I think it's about traffic volume, etc., and probably also width of the street, and whether we are considering collaboration with the Open Science Project. So Danielle wants to answer it.
Yeah, I don't know if Franziska placed that question, but we talked briefly about that in the breakout session, and we would be very keen to collaborate and talk more about this opportunity.
Yeah. So yes, I mean, we can also say, or maybe Heidi, you want to add something about traffic volume estimation?
Sure, yes. We are working on models to estimate traffic volume as well, and actually, but on road level, basically, for specific roads, and this would also be planned to potentially include this into the index.
Yeah, thank you. Can I get results for my own custom area? Sebastian, maybe you want to answer that one as well?
Yes, I hope I understand the question correctly, but the answer is not yet, but we will very soon add a feature so that users can select any particular area, like for example, by drawing a box or other polygon in the map, and not be limited to the administrative boundaries from OSM that sometimes are not at the scale that you might want. So not yet, but soon.
And this is also already answering the question after the next one, whether it will be possible to draw a custom area of interest in the future. Yes, in the future it will be possible, and we are also working on that, as Sebastian just explained. Then the next question is about the amount of car traffic, and I think this was also already answered by Veit before. So yeah, we are working on a model on traffic volume and also including traffic speed, etc. You know, in terms of congestion potentially at some stage. Some of it is rather future music, others is in reach, I would say. So yeah, but amount of car traffic will be included soon, also equally for the walkability index. So if I say soon, it's soonish. So depends, of course, also on partner wishes and the urgency of some wishes. If you have some project or some in a given city or so, there's you have to have this data, so we can prioritize, of course. Okay, then the next question. How can the tool track progress in reducing emissions? I think this goes again to you, Sebastian, and or maybe Veit.
This is a very tough one, but a key question, because currently the tool cannot do this. It is based on a snapshot of data from the census of 2022. And if we wait for the next census to update our estimates, we will have to wait 10 years or more. So that's not acceptable. I could say that this is an active area of research, and we're trying to think how we could do this. At some point, for a specific area, like Heidelberg, for example, since we are working with our partners at the Institute for Environmental Physics, you can actually deploy sensors to measure emissions and use those measurements to refine our initial estimates. So we could start with our initial estimates, and then if people in Heidelberg are switching to cleaner heating sources, for example, we would expect to see a decrease in the emissions, and by measuring that, we could update our estimates. That's one of the projects that we want to work on, but that requires obviously having sensors to measure CO2, and it's not easily scalable. So we have to find other ways to update our data and be able to actually track progress in reducing emissions.
Thank you. So there's a lot of traffic, I don't know about the streets, but here at least, so everything is changing so quickly, it's fun looking at it actually. So the next question now is whether it is planned to have a layer view where you can add multiple layers to the map and turn them on and off. Yes, it is planned, and I think we will, I don't want to promise too much, but it should happen this year, I would say. Okay, Maria, the next one goes to you because it's more or less about what you talked in the Ideas Lab. Which indicators are you planning to add in the future?
So already in the making are two further tools about greenhouse gas emissions. So one about estimating high resolution traffic emissions, and one about greenhouse gas budget for a city region. We're working on an indicator on land consumption, so looking at sealed soil and urbanization. We're looking at transitability, so how good is public transport in your area, and then one on rooftop solar, so how is there already PV in your area, where are still capacities to include PV. Yeah.
Yes, and
did I miss something? Yeah.
No, I don't think so. No, not at all. So, and it's plenty, I would say. If I recall it correctly now by heart, is that all of them will be international, so they are not restricted to Germany or Austria. But yeah, we would be happy to work on this with some more partners, even for land consumption. I hope I can say this. We are working with WWF in Austria on this, and this will be finished or will have a first version soon, like on how much of our land surface is already consumed and how much is actually left for nature or agriculture. Okay, oh yeah, there it is. Land consumption is a pressing issue, yes, and we are way behind our goals to reduce land consumption. Could you develop an indicator for this? Obviously, yes, we are doing this, and I couldn't agree more. It's a hugely pressing issue, and we are not talking enough about it, and we are not doing enough about it. It's really pressing. And yeah, we are working, as I said, with the WWF Austria on this, but we are happy for more input and more partners. So if you're interested, please get in touch with me. Okay, next one. How will feedback from today's participants be gathered and incorporated into the next steps? Yeah, that's why we used Padlet and we used Slido. So we have your feedback, your questions, etc. And we will include them in our developing process, prioritize them accordingly, and yeah, then work on it as far as we can and as fast as we can, I'd say. One more question for HeiGIT. No, not HeiGIT. Are there plans to incorporate slope, elevation, or effort level into the biking score? Danielle, do you want to say something about that?
Yeah, we talked briefly about the ideas around naturalness and detour factors for HeiGIT as future indicators. And the one I didn't show is that we already have slope included in HeiWalk, and that would be another one that we could extend HeiGIT to include. So yeah, the idea would be to see the slope of different paths that you can have an idea for how easy or difficult they are to cycle on, particularly if you don't have an e-bike. The challenge around slope and elevation is that there's not a lot cities can do to reduce their slope and elevation, but you can still do things like providing routes on paths that are flatter, and also improving the network around them, or improving the quality of the paths that are on steep slopes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you. Oh, it's changing. So I think you can stay unmuted, Danielle, for HeiGIT attributes. Which ones are used within the classification with BTV, safe crossing, etc.?
I will volunteer Emily to answer that question. Thanks, Emily.
Thanks. So yeah, we're not currently using this, and we also don't have like a good estimate for safe crossing distance. I don't quite know what DTV means in this context because of three-letter abbreviations, but I think those are all good ideas to look more into. We are already considering crossings and like places where you need to dismount in HeiGIT, mostly based on German traffic law. But yeah, I think those are good future ideas for what we should look at in HeiGIT.
Though, as you said, they can be tricky, yeah, especially safe crossing, as you said, but very interesting and also I would say very important as a yeah, avid biker myself, I would say. Yeah, thank you. And Martin, if you want to, you can maybe reply to it and briefly explain what DTV means. So yeah, that would be appreciated. Thank you. Okay, next question by Mathieu. How can we continue to engage and contribute to future improvements of the project by providing feedback, translations, and new features, ideas, for example? Yes, as I said before, of course, please get in touch with me. And I don't know if I promise or reveal too much here, but we are at least discussing the option to have a comment section or kind of forum on the dashboard also for easier exchange, etc. But this might take some time. So at the moment, please send me an email, call me, and yeah, we are very grateful for feedback, translations. Is in planning and new features ideas highly welcome anytime, really. Yeah, as I said, we are a small team. We can't do everything at once, but we will do for sure. Could users simulate the effects of retrofitting or alternative heating technologies? Sebastian.
Yes, that is a good question. That is exactly one of the applications that we envision for this tool, because it would make it very easy to simulate what would happen if a certain fraction of buildings were retrofitted or changed to a cleaner source. And that is very straightforward to do with the tool. So it's a very natural application.
Okay, thank you. The next one is a bit critical, which is also great. I'm having a bit trouble imagining how the tool would work in practice. How do you intend to use the tool in practice and for whom? So we are envisioning that NGOs like our current partners already, like for example the Rad Lobby or Klimanetz, whoever in this realm, or also city administrations, even researchers will use the tool in order to see where there are hotspots for action. So where, for example, is the cycling infrastructure not good enough in order to be, I don't know, a city that promotes active mobility. So you can see with the tool where there are the hotspots of action, and it's not us to act, and it's also not the NGOs to act, but for example, it might be the task for the city administrations to act, but you can really pinpoint where there are problems and what you can do. You could, in terms of heating emissions, for example, or the future indicator of rooftop photovoltaic, for example, you could also think as a city administration then of some kind of information campaign in a specific area where there are very few PV on roofs, for example. This is kind of what we envision with the tool. So it's not really that we will use it in practice, but that our aim is to make it usable and useful for our partners so that they can act on it. Okay, next one. Why did you train your own land use and cover classification model instead of using existing data sets? Fine, this one goes to you.
Yeah, so there are two main reasons. The first reason is that carbon stocks or carbon stock values that we're using to estimate the land cover change emissions are only available for certain land use and land cover classes, and by training our own classification model, we can trend exactly for those land use land cover classes for which we also have carbon stock values. The second reason is that we have the full temporal flexibility, while most existing datasets only have annual are only updated annually. Basically, we can theoretically do a classification for any given day. We have not included that functionality now in the tool because of data storage reasons, but we are in principle able to do that. So that's why we trained our own model.
Yeah, thank you. So unfortunately, I just had a look at the time. I was a little bit shocked because I was, I would have gone on forever, but we said that this would take 1 hour and we don't want to take too much of your time. So I think we will include these questions or answers to these questions when we send out our the recording of this. And so this would be this slide then. So we will keep it, you will receive a follow-up email with the slides, and then the recording of the main session, and we will also include the answers to the remaining questions. But I would really like to not take up too much of your time now. So what remains to do for me now is to thank you for all your participation and the energy also you've given to us, so to say, and especially for those who shared your insights in the breakout sessions and now in the Q&A. A very quick recap. So CAN is an open co-created dashboard to support local climate action. It's ready to be used by cities, NGOs, but also research teams. As I said, your feedback today helps us to further improve our tools, and we will use your feedback, so it's not lost for sure. And yeah, so thank you again, and we look forward to continue working with you or to start co-creating the Climate Action Navigator with you if and when you get in touch with us. Thank you very much again, and have a nice remainder of the day. Bye and ciao.